welcome back to our home podcast. My name is Lindsay, I'm your host.
And I'm George, I'm your co-host.
It's great to be back with you. We've had 2-3 months break probably now because we had an intensive language school to do, or at least I did, and Ethan. George, not so much.
Porque yo no lo necesito, yo hablo español.
Sí, no necesita. You already speak Spanish. So, we're excited to be back with you now, and we are going to pick up where we left off shortly before Christmas, I think, when we were discussing with Leslie part one of Reimagining Church, and we were talking to her about the fact she recently left institutional traditional church for the first time in her life. She's been working with a group of women outside of the church walls, which has been going really well, meeting with them regularly. And just before that, we had also spent a while, hadn't we, reflecting
Couple
on,
sessions, yeah.
I think 3 probably, on the good, bad and the ugly of our church experience over quite a few decades now. And there was a lot of positive experience in there as well as some not so positive. So we've been reflecting on 2026. What does Reimagining Church, Christian community, when we say church, we mean the body of Christ. Church is people. It's not a building. It's not the institution. It's not what Constantine set up in 300 odd AD. Church is people, as church as defined in the New Testament metaphors, like the body of Christ. What does that look like for us? What are we taking forward at this stage in life that feels like the most authentic expression of church that we've known to date? And how are we going to do that here in Spain? And what else might we be doing as well as that is different in 2026 to what it was in maybe 2005, 2010?
Yeah, I think when we were actually doing the previous podcast on the good, the bad, and the ugly of church, we also reflected, what were the times where we felt that what we were doing and what we were involved in was actually touching on those very issues, what really represented what church really means. And there was definitely 2 instances. One was when we were leading a group of young people, young adults.
Teenagers, you mean?
Teenagers, yeah. In a church that we were part of in Abingdon. And the second time was, again, leading a group of young adults in the church that we were part of in Sheffield.
Uni students, yeah.
Yes, yeah. To us, when you actually think about asking the question, what was the highlight, basically? What were the most positive times of when you, quote unquote, did church? It was those 2 instances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and it was quite interesting as we were reflecting on the past and thinking about the future. I found, for those of you looking on video, I found this book next to my bed, and also another one, kind of a memory book. This is the other one. One was from the teenage community, which was called Immerse. It started off as Frantic and then became Immerse. And then the second one was Become at Home, our student community. And it was really touching, actually, to read all the comments that these young people from both those periods of time, probably 6 to 8 years, writing all the ways that they'd been impacted, encouraged, blessed, basically.
You forget. You do over the times. You do actually forget just how impactful, how much change I think people actually experienced, the connections that they actually made, and what this group actually meant for them during this time in their lives. I think for the teenagers, it was really significant time in any teenager's life, going through school, thinking about university, thinking about relationships, but being able to have a place where they could just feel at home, be free to discuss these kind of things. And same with the other one, the other group that we had. Again, you just forget sometimes over, how long was it since we were doing these groups?
Oh gosh, I think it's 2009
Yeah, I mean, we're talking 15 years ago. You do forget what people actually said, these groups and these communities actually meant to them. And when you read these things again, you realize, yeah, this is why they felt special to us, because it was actually special to them as well. I think they experienced something which hopefully they still continue to experience wherever they may be, of church, of what it really means to be in community.
I think it's probably helpful for maybe people to know what we did and why it felt that way. So we're not going to take the time to talk about too in detail, because they were actually very, very similar in terms of what they were all about, really. But we met with the teenagers weekly, didn't we? We always had food.
Food was very central to every single time.
Yeah, same with the students. I mean, students, you just put on some food and they show up, right?
Yeah.
I suppose teenagers are the same. So, and there were 4 of us, George and I and another couple, who were helping to lead the group.
In the Abingdon
also key.
Group,
and
in the Abingdon Church,
group, we actually had some leaders that we kind of developed to lead along with us. But they started off very small, just a handful of young people, and we were asked to kind of step in, and we didn't even really know what we were doing initially, and thought, well, we don't want to lead a group of teenagers. We don't really know what we're doing.
At first, our reaction was like, not sure if we want to do this.
Yeah, our boys were like young primary age. We were like, we don't know how to do teenagers. And I think we'd come from YWAM School of Biblical Studies, which was quite academic. And I remember the first night that we got together with them, it was quite Bible study, and we're going to teach you how to study the Bible.
That's what you do in a Christian group. You study the Bible.
Yeah, but it wasn't even a classic Bible study. It was all the things of you need to learn to observe and reflect and how to apply and look at what it meant to the original readers and blah, blah, blah. We were trying to, wanting to give them the tools to be able to feed themselves from the Bible, which is where we'd just come from, with Youth with a Mission. And
we were doing a good thing.
And I remember at the end of the night, we said to one of the trusted guys, I think it was Pete, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or maybe Pete and David. So how was that? And they were like, to be honest, it felt like an English lesson at school.
It fell flat. I mean, we were dejected. It was like, oh my goodness, our first tryist, and it just bombs.
Yeah. So, so basically, number one, really important, helpful rule. We were like, what do you think you need? What do you want to talk about?
It drove us back to just that. If we are actually going to go ahead and form a group of people where they do want to come, we needed to hear where they were at and what they wanted from it.
Yeah.
And that's not what we did.
Yeah.
We thought we
need to give you this, but actually they wanted to talk about a whole bunch of other things. I can't remember what all those topics were now, but we made a big list. We asked them about all the things we wanted to discuss, and then we kind of rolled that out over the coming weeks.
And I think that was one of the key elements from the very, very beginning that I think drew them in, because I think most experiences that at least I've had, you go to a church and no one actually sits down with you, to find out who you are, what's going on with you, life, do you have any questions, anything like that. Most churches are too big to do something like that. But I think they probably hadn't experienced anything like this before, where someone actually takes interest and says, so tell me, what do you want from a group like this? What questions do you have? What would it look like? What do you find significant in something like this that would want to make you come back? And we started it, like I said, it was what, 5, 6 of them?
5 or 6 people, wasn't many, and ended up 35. So we had to break into different groups in our house. So basically we'd all come together and eat. We'd have some kind of initially we would have some kind of discussion. We were doing a lot together. We would also meet once a month for a worship night, not because that's something that you have to do, but actually these young people were very talented. They played instruments, they sang.
We had musicians galore here.
Yeah, we loved harmonizing and all that sort of thing. So we'd get together once a month with like 5 mics and just do sung worship, because with that particular group we loved it. With the students later it was a bit different. Some people enjoyed sung worship, other people liked writing or reflecting or journaling or just sitting in silence or whatever. So we gave freedom, I think, when we came to the student age, but the teenagers generally loved that. So we did that once a month,
and we involved them, because I think that was one of the things again that captivated them, is they had talents, they had gifts, they had something that they could actually give and bring. And the fact that we were not leading them, we were part of the group and we were working through this thing together.
Yeah, I know what you mean by not leading them. I guess that's with a small L, maybe, because we kind of were.
Yeah,
But it was
yeah,
more. You
yeah.
mean we were facilitating them? We wanted to encourage them to grow and bring their gifts, bring their contributions. It wasn't like we're
Yes.
leading, doing all the work at all. It was like we're together. We're
I think
growing and learning
sometimes,
together.
yes, I
Yeah.
think the model of leadership was top down. That was actually experienced by them in the main church. So I think the kind of leadership that we were modeling was more collaborative, rather than we're going to tell you what we're going to do, and you need to come and participate in that.
Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
main church, the leader was a great guy.
Oh,
He
he
was a
was,
Baptist
yeah.
minister. So it was more that I think the main church was quite traditional, wasn't it? It was Baptist, Anglican, URC, Methodist, and it was kind of a bit of a stand up, sit down, sing a couple of songs, have a talk, quite traditional.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
some of the young people
Yeah.
maybe were okay with that, and a lot of them perhaps would have found it a bit boring, and didn't have a desire to go. But the great thing was about the leader was he wasn't threatened
No.
by us meeting with the youth group. He wasn't like, but they should be coming to church on a Sunday. He was really happy to see that the young people were growing and flourishing. We went to Soul Survivor, took them to Soul Survivor 3 years
Three
in
or
a row,
four
which
times, yeah.
we also loved. And we had purely social events, barbecues in the garden. They'd bring their mates. We ran Youth Alpha in Costa Coffee. We were, I think,
That was
according
unique.
to Costa Coffee, the first group ever to do that. It became a thing after that. But that was great. We were showing film clips, weren't we? And then they would all get round in discussions and
much
talk
of it
about
was
stuff.
they were involved in that as well, and to have, in a sense, a vehicle, a venue from which they could actually bring their friends. It was a safe place. It was a place of fun that they could actually, I think, with integrity, say to some of their friends, "You're not coming to church. You're coming to something quite different here." And again, it involved food, all the Costa Coffee cakes and that. So it was an environment that was actually very, very unique. That again they owned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember we worked with minister of another church nearby called Danny, and Pete and I and you and a few others, we made our own album, didn't we? That was fun. That was
Oh
another thing
wow!
we did.
Gosh, I've
yeah,
forgotten
called
about that.
Generation Rising.
Still have the CD.
We do.
Yeah.
And we also did, like, I think it was once a month, the minister of the main church agreed to finish church early, and then we did outreach, like with the whole church. It was quite a nice neighbourhood in Abingdon, to be fair, but we did do litter picking in the estate, because that still happened with some of the young people. So we were trying to find a way, how can we do something that just serves the local community a little bit? So we did that with the whole church. That was fun. And we also did things like, that was around the year for the Make Poverty History campaign.
Yes.
So I was a regional manager with Tear Fund at the time, which was handy. So I was able to get all the young people involved. We got the mayor and did a Make Poverty History campaign, marched through the streets,
the whole
wrapped
thing,
the town hall in the banner. And
we were in the newspapers. Yeah, they really
and
enjoyed
were
that. They really,
carrying something in people in a bath, didn't we, that had Make Poverty History on it, and got them involved in all of that. Yeah, and the other thing that was very connected with the wider church was that we would also, I think once a term it probably was, we had the young people go in and take the service of the main church, didn't we? Which was great, because then they were able to see the growth of the young people, give the opportunity for the young adults and the teenagers to do stuff in church, to speak, to teach, to share a testimony, to do a drama sketch, to sing, whatever. So they were also growing and developing. But on reflection, we realised that even though we had that opportunity and that relationship with the church, and that was a blessing, it wasn't actually necessary that, the group that we were leading with a small L, but at the time actually had all the components of church within it already.
Yes.
We had relationship, we ate together, we prayed for each other, we supported each other, we had worship. Yes, there were some baptisms, and we did choose to do that with the wider church, but we didn't have to. We could have just done that. I can't think of anything that that church, big church, institutional church, Sunday church does. In fact, I think we did a lot more that sometimes that church doesn't do. If you've got a classic model of a Sunday church and a fellowship group or a midweek Bible study group, then that maybe has more of the components. But I think there is a lot of authentic relationship and discipleship, for want of a better word, because we were a smaller, close-knit group doing life together, and we would meet with people one-on-one outside of that group, wouldn't we? Discuss life with them,
Yes.
support them.
Yes, and I think the availability that existed, the flexibility that existed with us actually getting together with them informally, just outside of the meeting times. You know, we had times when some of them would just come to our front door, you know, just to chat over some issues or whatever the case may be. This was really a group that could stand on itself as a church. It did not need the connection that we had to the main church. That was good, and to receive the support. But I guess what we're saying, in and of itself, this was a group that under any circumstances you could have recognized as a church in its own right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it grew organically. Lots of people came in who
Definitely.
were outside of it.
Yep.
So it did everything that you would hope
Yeah.
that church would do. And we really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's kind of what we were reflecting on, that God, we didn't know what we were doing back then, but God showed us what to do. God grew that group. And those things are just as relevant. The things that we did then are just as relevant now as they were then. The only difference is we're now in Spain. So we still have a heart for younger generations, for students, young adults, teenagers. And this time, it's Ethan, our second son, who
We only have two.
who was very little when we were doing these groups. He's now going to a youth group.
A local youth group, yeah.
Yes, but it's Spanish.
Yes.
Spanish youth group. And so our heart now is actually no different. It's just we want to reach out to Spanish youth
Yes.
and young adults. And now that we've done the Spanish course, hopefully we can do that. And the difference is, we don't have to necessarily lead the group or whatever. Again, it's part of an existing church, although I think the young people come from more than one church.
Yeah.
But again, we just want to offer our home, our lives, ourselves, if they so desire, to come and hang out with us, build relationship, and just let that be that.
I think one of the things that really identifies something of what church really is that I think they all found a connection here. We enabled, it's not so much the activities or the worship evenings or whatever it was, we enabled a place where people could come in and connect heart to heart, talk about life, process life together, pray for one another, support one another. And I think that is often one of the elements that I think as human beings, we seek that. So even in the youth group here that Ethan is actually attending, opening up our house to get to meet some of them and just to connect, just to do life together. And it could be like a variety of different events. Food, like we said, was always one of the main attractors. You have so many good conversations, around a table of food. It just happens naturally. And I think that's the thing, it's not made up.
And it's supposed to. I mean, God designed us to eat 2 or 3 meals a day. So it's obviously supposed to be important.
Yep.
And a really important part of life. And I think we also found that the interesting thing that a lot of the best discussions were outside of the structure.
Yes.
Even though the structure was pretty informal. Anyway, it was after the majority had left and the 3, 4, 5 stayed behind. And, they'd maybe go at 9 because, the age range then was like 14 to 18, 14 to 19. So the younger ones would go. And then the older ones would stay. Sometimes
2, 3 in the morning.
I was
Sometimes
gonna say midnight or 1 in the morning. Was it 2 or 3? Was it that late?
there was a couple times, yes, when it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. But by gum, those discussions, it's when people's hearts really opened up. It's really when they were able to go ahead and trust that the setting, the time, the people, the group was I can tell you everything about myself. I can really reveal myself. And I think those are really, really special times when someone gets to the point where you're no longer playing church, you're no longer, doing what you should be doing, but you actually open up and you share heart.
Not about performance or listening to a talk.
That is special.
Really
that is special.
Engaging. Yeah. So that was just our reflection that's what we loved the most. We still have a heart for that people group, and that's what we want to continue to do here in Spain. Doesn't matter that we're older, we'll just move from the big brother to the mum and dad category. I don't think we're quite at grandpa stage yet.
No.
We're resisting that for a few more years, aren't we? It won't be too long, but no, we're not going there yet.
No.
And I guess the other thing that we've been reflecting on, haven't we, is that we now are in a digital age. In 2010, it wasn't. It now is. So that's why we're also doing the podcast, because whilst we love and really value local expression of Christian community and want to build that here in Spain, what we have been able to do over the last year, when we've not been in a position to do that, partly because we've not spoken good enough Spanish to do it, has been this podcast. Because we also do really have a heart, as you will have picked up if you've heard some other podcasts, for people outside or beyond traditional or institutional church for whatever reason. And there's kind of a sense that we want to be like, a well in the wilderness for some people who may need it for whatever reason, find themselves on the edge of traditional church, either coming in or going out for whatever reasons. And the digital age means that we have a much broader reach than just the people that are going to come into our home. So we've been thinking about, though, how we can make our podcast maybe a bit more like a community, a bit more interactive. And so we're going to come to that in a minute in terms of a potential idea for how to do that. But also something that we've been doing over recent months, we've been doing church, a very long distance, he is actually a very dear friend, but that's kind of not the point. It could have worked with someone who was a very dear friend. So we've been discussing a book by Richard Rohr for the last, 4 months probably, called Divine Dance.
Yep.
That we've absolutely loved.
Transformational, absolutely transformational. He asked me where I was, because from some of my previous podcasts, you will be aware that I actually parked my faith. I actually put it on the shelf again, because some of the experiences that I actually had and some of the doubts and questions that started creeping in from institutional church and the rules and regulations and everything, questioning what faith is really all about. And he interestingly asked me, after I actually went through this period, he said, are you fully committed? How do you find yourself? Do you find that you have been able to engage again? Do you find that you are, in a sense, satisfied with where you're at?
When you say this period, you mean the period of reading the book?
Yes, right. Yeah.
Richard Rohr's book.
Yes, yeah. And I can easily say that in the way that we've done it, I'm in the best place that I would describe myself spiritually.
I'd agree.
And the best place in my desire to know God more, to go deeper with God, to learn more about love, God's love, my love towards others. It has really seriously been transformational. And the fact that we do it with this friend of ours, and we each discuss and talk and freely have similar discussions from what that we had with the young people when they stayed behind, till old dark 30 hours in the morning. It's what changes and what transforms and what really hits deep. This is something that we want to explore more and perhaps do and give the opportunity for some of you that might actually be interested in going forward. Yeah.
So with Divine Dance, it's a pretty dense book. So we were only doing 10 pages at a time. more or less. We started with more and then went, whoa, there's so much.
There's too much here. There's too much here.
We were doing it weekly as well. But we thought with this podcast, maybe we'd still love to do Divine Dance in the future. But we thought maybe we'd start with a lighter book, a slightly more accessible book by Richard Rohr.
But still significant.
Yeah, it's one that we read probably a decade ago. Haven't actually touched it since. We gave our copy away. It was very popular at the time. Some of you who've been around a bit will remember the book, Falling Upward. It's a book about the two halves of life and how to recognize the stage of life that you're at, what spiritual maturity means. How to recognize God's work in times of trial, I think was a good part of it as well. So yeah, we'd like to trial doing that.
Yeah, that will be interesting. This will be interesting.
Yeah. And so what we'd like to encourage people to do is in a couple of weeks' time, we are going to be discussing the preface, the prologue,
the introduction.
The introduction and the first 2 chapters of Falling Upward by Richard Rohr. So if you want to come along with us on this ride, then we'd encourage you to buy it if you like the idea of doing this with us, even if you've read it and want to revisit it, which is the case for us.
Just please be aware that there is the original version and that there's 2 revised versions. Right. The book that we are actually going to be using is the latest revised version with, I think, a foreword by Brené Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just if you're interested in actually purchasing it, just know that that's the one that we're actually going to be using.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to buy the book, that's absolutely fine. We will make sure that we summarize the couple of chapters that we read once a fortnight, so that you can still understand the topic of the podcast, the episode. And then we will talk about that and discuss it in the way that we would any sort of topic that we're talking about on a podcast. So I think it will work whether you buy the book or you don't. But what could be different about this, for those of you who want to come along with us and read it with us, what would be fantastic is if you, whilst you are reading it, if you have comments, thoughts, questions, things that you'd like to be discussed in the podcast about those 2 chapters, points you want to raise, then there are various ways in which you can get those things to us. So you could email us at contact@ourhomepodcast.com, contact@ourhomepodcast.com. That's a way to reach us. You can join our Home community on Facebook if you'd like to, and you can comment there or message us there. You could comment on YouTube or Spotify once, like for example on this podcast, if you've got questions about Falling Upward once you start reading it. So yeah, you could even message me privately if you needed to, Lindsay Lonchar.
Just let us know that you're joining and you would like to go ahead and follow along, because it's just interesting to know, what kind of interest there is. We hope that there is. We hope that you will find it actually very helpful and very meaningful. But yeah, just let us know. Yes, this is something that I would like to go ahead and participate in.
Yeah, and then there's even the future possibilities of WhatsApp video calls. There might be 1 or 2 people who we want to chat together more personally about the book or about things. So yeah, we're just trying to find a way to see if we can bring some of the community that we've enjoyed at a local level, present with people, into
the digital age
and into the digital world. And I didn't really know that it was possible or how much I would like that, because we're such a kind of present with
face
people,
to face
community people. But the experience over the last few months in discussing this book really showed us that you can actually go really deep and really have a sense of community.
Did we mention how we did it? Yeah, we every
WhatsApp video calls.
It was a WhatsApp video call with a friend, but we did that every Sunday.
Yeah.
You've got your time differences to consider, but nevertheless, when you find the right time, we met regularly. Every single Sunday, we would go ahead and hook up to go ahead and discuss the pages. And yes, the discussions took us here and here and here and here. But they were really meaningful. And I think this is what we're actually talking about. If it comes to the point where there is, a few of you who really benefit, I think, from a FaceTime, a WhatsApp face call, video call, it really makes a difference. You could really connect that way as well. It really surprised us. But yeah, it does work. It does work.
Yeah.
And you can bring your own food to your own table, to your place, wherever it is that you are.
That's true. Yeah, unfortunately, we can't do the cooking food bit, but
Yeah.
yes. So yeah, we don't know how it's going to go, but we're all for experimenting and seeing if this is something that could be good, could be fun. And if nothing else, we've got a really interesting author to comment on over the next probably 6 episodes. And the great thing about discussing someone like Richard Rohr or a book is obviously you don't have to necessarily agree with the book. The point is you talk about what you do and don't like, what's spoken
Indeed.
to, hear what other people think, learn from their perspectives. So yeah, we thought it would be a fun thing to do. And I don't think there's many examples like this out there in the podcast world from what I could see.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Yeah, so
No.
we thought it'd be fun to try it. So that's us.
Yep.
That's the plan for the next 6 episodes. Falling Upward by Richard Rohr, the new edition with Brené Brown introduction. So if you want to come along with us and read that, then please do so. If you want to let us know that you're doing that, please do so. And if you just want to listen in, that's great too. So we will look forward to seeing you for the first edition of Falling Upward in 2 weeks' time.
Indeed.
Until then,
Yep.
God bless.
Bless you.